guys, OK Outdoorsman, and today we're going to be teaching you how to do this. Turn the lights on here. That's a little better. So I had an absurd amount of comments on this post on the Skeeter Facebook page. Had no idea it was going to go that crazy. I just thought it'd be cool. And I had a lot of people asking for a video tutorial as well. So I'm going to show you guys how I lit up my Raptors, the safe way to do it, how I wired them, all that kind of stuff, and what you're going to need to do it. So this is what you're going to need to get it done. You're going to need some kind of drill or impact or a ratchet wrench of some sort, or maybe you have short little screwdrivers. At least for my boat, I needed, just miscellaneous screwdrivers and stuff. That's not the screwdriver I used. I used a Phillips head, but it was laying around. Some kind of Torx bits, most likely. If I could guess, you're going to need zip ties and a plethora of connectors and miscellaneous heat shrink, all that kind of stuff. And when you use connectors, make sure that you use heat shrink butt connectors. Once you crimp them and everything, you can heat these guys up and they heat shrink down flush. And I always double heat shrink it and come back with a layer of this as well. And you obviously need a heat gun for the heat shrink. One thing that is not shown here that you will need to do this is you will need a fish tape. I didn't have my fish tape handy. I have no idea where it went. So I called a friend and I borrowed one of his and it worked great. You will also need some wire. I use 16 gauge because these things really do not draw a whole lot of current. And you also might want a fuse and a switch depending on how you wire them. So obviously I can't do it right now, but step one is going to put your Raptors down as far as you can get them, just until they touch the ground. You don't need to pick the boat up or anything crazy, but it makes fishing these things through a lot easier. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your LED strip, which mine are hidden across this edge here. It is this outside curled over edge, and they're run straight up where there's no hex pattern, and that is so they are harder to see. And you're going to want to fish them over this bracket, that bracket, and obviously be very careful around the cylinder. You don't want to get involved there. Make sure everything clearances well. If you look at mine, you can kind of see up in there. You can see I have plenty of clearance in between the light and all the brackets. There you go. See how it's on that inside edge? That is the best way that I've found to light them up. And it's just going to 3M on behind this. I made sure I had plenty of room here at the bottom. Obviously, you do not want these things to run all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. It's just too much. All you really need to do is run it up until where this hex pattern ends and down to here where, somewhere right about there. You don't really need a whole lot of light down here because it'll kind of radiate through the hex pattern. Then right here, you see I've got my two connections for my positive and my negative, and they're run in there and heat shrunk butt connectors and then heat shrunk over. And I just zip tied it to my power pole cables in a way that I felt was not going to chafe. I heat shrunk the positive and the negative wires, ran them up into here. They look good. They're running into there. One more thing that was extremely helpful to me is I went to Home Depot and I got a roll of heat shrink. I think they sell like 96-inch rolls of it for like $4, and it fits these two 16 gauge wires perfectly. Another really important tip is if you look, you want to make sure that this wire is somewhere not tangled with your power pole hydraulic hoses, because if you've noticed when you put your power poles down, these hoses move. You want this cable to move with them seamlessly and not get caught up, pinched, or in any other way messed up. And if you see, my connections are outside of any possible pinch zone here. And the same thing on the other side. It's on this outside inner edge. And if you look, you can kind of see a little bit of LED strip right there, but you want to make sure that you can't see any LED strip right here in these edges, because if you look to the side and you can see the LED strip through here or through there, then it's just not going to radiate. It's not going to look the best. It's not going to be so concealed. You'll see more LEDs, like if you look at it from a hard angle like that, you'll see the strip itself instead of seeing the radiation that comes off the strips. Again, all wires are run up with the power poles, free of any pinch point. Well, power poles, Raptors, whatever you want to call them. Here we go, we're in the bilge area. Please just ignore the wreck that it is. So if you look, I have both my wires coming in right here. Both the negatives are tied together, again on a heat shrunk butt connector on the negative terminal. And then if you look, I actually have the two positive wires going somewhere else. I don't have them going to a battery. So I have these two right here joined into one, again, with a heat shrunk butt connector. That is, and crimp it before you heat shrink it. Don't just heat shrink it. And then I used a fish tape to run it up the gunnel on the starboard side. Here's a huge tip when you are running wires up and down your gunnel with a fish tape. Take the throttle assembly off. It's not that hard, but there's a lot more behind here than you think if you've never taken one apart. Just pop the, whatever it is. It's like 7 screws, mine are a T20, and come out, gently come forward, and then you can just lean it right here. Won't harm anything, it's out of the way. Same thing down here with your breaker panel. Obviously, everybody's boat is different, but it was easiest if I just took the 6 screws out, removed the breaker panel, and it's out of the way. I can see everything going on behind it. I know I'm not going to rip any innocent wires out of it. Now, if you look, I've just taken this dash panel off underneath. You can see my blue wire. If you look up inside here, right there, you can see a little grommet. That is where you're going to run your wire through into the gunnel. The best way I've found to do this, at least on my boat, everybody's boat is different, because it's hard to get the fish tape up there and see it, is actually push the wire through that grommet by hand, and then kind of stick my arm up in the fuse panel hole or in the breaker panel hole. I can grab it, and I can meet it with my fish tape in this gap right here. Also, I'm not sure I mentioned it before, but it's easier to start here and pull back that way than try to pull it back up this way, because there's not a whole lot of room underneath the console. It's just, it's better for the fish tape, and it's easy to run the fish tape if you run it from here back to the transom area. So the way I did mine, so I have this nice little courtesy light right here. I just took these screws right here out and dropped this little bracket down here with the courtesy light, and I tapped into the positive connection for the courtesy light. It's just 2 LEDs, doesn't draw a whole lot of amps, neither do the lights on the back of the boat. So it's okay, nothing's gonna get hot, as long as you use the right wire size, confirm your breaker size is correct, which it should be. You know, if any of this pulls more than really a couple amps, and you've got some big problems elsewhere in your boat electrical system, or with the wiring you did. So it shouldn't be any problem at all. Now, the reason I did it this way is because I don't plan on ever running them unless the courtesy lights are on. And the courtesy light really isn't even that noticeable, so it's not like it's bothersome to me. I'm really only gonna run them at night. And the other thing is, if they're hooked into the courtesy lights, it's not hooked into any other navigation or anchor lights or anything else on the boat. Because depending on where you're from, this may not be legal to run with. Check your local laws. It's that easy. Or call your local wildlife department. They should be able to answer it for you. You're so much better off just calling your local wildlife facility than getting a ticket for this, because, let's be honest, it's easy to get a ticket out there. One thing that I do want to go over about these guys is, if you have the Raptors, there's no kit available to do this. If you have power poles, there is. So it might just be easier to buy the kit if you have regular power poles. I think they make it for the power pole blade. It's Blue Water LED. It should be available on TH Marine's website, I believe. A lot of people were asking me where I got these lights from, and I got them from, the website is literally called t-toplights.com, I think. I'll link it in the description to where I got them from, but these are the 10-foot power poles, and like I said, you want the strips to be just a little bit shorter than the power pole. The easiest way to think of it is if you have a 10-foot power pole, then they're going to be about 5 foot tall because they pretty much cut it in half. So you got 2 5-foot sections of power pole that make 10 foot. So I went with a 4-foot LED. If you have the 8-footers, the 3-foot might be just a little short. You might be able to make the 4-foot work, but the 3-foot should do you okay if you can get your hands on a 3-foot. It is not safe to cut these lights down. Do not try. You'll ruin the waterproofing. As far as everything else goes, they've held up well. I have one trip on them. We used them that trip, and everything seems to be okay. The 3M and everything is great. Just whatever lights you get, if you don't get the T-top LED lights, you need to make sure they're IP68 waterproof. Not the standard IP67 that we're used to, where they're water-resistant, weather-resistant. They need to be IP68, fully submersible rated strips. That is the only way to go. It's the only safe way to go. It's the only way they're going to hold up. Yeah, they're just a little bit more money, but they're not that expensive. These strips were $20 a piece. I might have, I already had the tools laying around. I might have $60 wrapped up in this project. It's really not a whole lot, and it was a lot of fun, and anybody who's looking to add just a little more flair to your boat at night, or even just light up the water behind you when you're fishing in the early mornings, you got your power poles down and stuff, I'd recommend it to you. It's cool. I like it. I think it looks good. So one more thing I wanted to talk about just while I'm here is content. I've got a couple videos filmed I need to edit. I'll get them out to you guys soon. One thing that I really think I should do is I think I should do an updated boat overview. A lot has been added to the boat since the last one. A lot of stuff that I'm really, really happy with. I think that's probably the next video I'm going to make. This is just a short little video I decided I was going to make after work. People were asking for it. I wanted to get it out quickly. As far as everything else goes, I've got plans to film some gear review videos soon. I'm finally going to film my video about Lose, which I'm really excited to do. And I think we should also do a follow-up video with my ordeal with Skeeter, because I got my boat back. It's fixed-ish, but now I've got bigger problems to deal with. Other than that, I'm going to try to film some more content soon. Tournament season has started. I got 2 days till the second Thursday nighter of the year. I'm going to try to get some film. I'm going to try to make something happen. You never know out there. The weather's been all over the place with the temperature change, the wind direction change. The lake level's been up and down 5-10 foot over the last few weeks, so it has just been an absolute mess out there trying to find fish, especially for guys like me who aren't the best at it. Like, subscribe, catch fish, and I guess we'll see you in the next episode.